You're asked to find the location and nature of the stationary points of the function. So you have the function y equal 5x cubed minus 30x squared minus 75x. So go right ahead, work it out. Okay, so where are the stationary points located? How many of them did you get? Where are they and what are their natures? Let us see. Now, the stationary points. Just a quick review. You know, if you have a function, it may be like this, it may be like this. Whatever it is like. The stationary points are the points where the gradient is 0. That means you're at the top of a hill or the bottom of a valley. Right? If you draw the tangent to the point, you get a horizontal line. So the gradient is 0. You know that when you find the derivative of the function, what you're finding is really the gradient function. Alright? So you're going to find the derivative of this function and equate it to 0 and solve to find out where the stationary points are. Then you're going to move on to find the nature of the stationary points. But anyway, let's see how this thing goes. dy by dx would be what? 5 3 is 15, x squared. Remember the power rule, multiply by the power. Then minus 1 from the old power to get a new power. Minus 230 is 60, x to the 1. To the 2 minus 1 is 1. This is x to the 1, so 1 times negative 75 is negative 75. X to the power was 1. When you say 1 minus 1, it's 0. So 1 minus 1 is 0. But what is x to the 0? X to the 0 equals 1. So you can just put that there. Equals 0. You equate it to 0 because you know the gradient, as a stationary point, the gradient is 0. So you make the gradient function equal 0. Remember, this is the gradient function, and you equate it to 0, right? Alright, so we have to solve this thing. We have some really big numbers here. You can divide everything by 15 to get smaller numbers. So divide this by 15, you have x squared minus, what is 60 over 15? 15 for 64. 4x minus, and then 75 divided by 15 is 5. 5 equals 0. Alright, so you have that. Alright. Now, can this be factorized? Let's try factorization. If you multiply 1 by negative 5, using the AC method, 1 by negative 5 is negative 5. Can you find two numbers that multiply and give you negative 5 or add to give you negative 4? Yeah, it's 1 and negative 5. 1 by negative 5 is negative 5. 1 plus negative 5 is negative 4. Alright, so you're going to split the negative 4x into 1x and negative 5x. It doesn't matter which one you put where. You could have put the negative 5x here and the plus 1x here if you want. No problem. But let us do that and see how it works out. So you have x squared plus 1x minus 5x minus 5 equals 0. Alright. Now you have x outside the bracket, x plus 1 minus, factorize this, 5 outside the bracket, 5 in negative 5 into negative 5 goes positive x, negative 5 into negative 5 goes positive 1, so plus 1. And you have the same thing in both brackets, so see that right on track. So factor out the x plus 1. X plus 1 is a common factor, put in a bracket. x minus 5 equals 0. Alright, so what we have is x is equal to negative 1 and x is equal to 5. Alright, so we found the x coordinates where the stationary points are located. Right? Now, what's going to happen after this? We're going to have to find out the value of y. So y equals 5x cubed minus 30x squared. Let's rewrite it. Y equals 5x cubed minus 30x squared. And then minus 75x minus 75x. Alright, so at x equal negative 1, y would be 5 times negative 1 cubed minus 30 times negative 1 squared minus 75 times negative 1. So y is negative 1 cubed is negative 1. So it's negative 5 minus 30, or the one negative 1 squared is positive 1. Negative 30 by 1 is negative 30. Plus 75. Which is what? That would be negative 5 minus 30. That's negative 35. So 75 minus 35 is what? 0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So negative 35 plus 75. So that's going to be 40. So we have one set of coordinates. Negative 1, 40. Alright. Call it stationary point 1. Is at negative 1, 40. Now what about the other stationary points? When x is 5. When x equals 5, so this one was when x equals 1, we see one of them is at negative 140. What happened when x is 5? When x is 5, y equal 5 times 5 cubed minus 30 by 5 squared minus 75 by 5. So y would be 5 cubed, 5, 5, 25, 25, 5, 125. Then 125 by 5 gives us 625 minus 5 squared is 25, 25, 3, 75 minus, what is 75 by 5? Can work that out on a calculator for me. 75 multiplied by 5 is what? 375. When you work out all of this, you get 625 minus 75 minus 375, giving us 175. Alright? So the other point is at 5, 175. Okay, good. So we can say stationary point 2 is at 5, 175. So you have negative 140, right? Negative 140 and 5, 175. Now, we have the location. Now we want the nature of the stationary points. So, ready to find the nature of the stationary points. Now, let us use the second derivative to work it out. We have the first derivative, dy by dx is 15x squared. Let's write that down. So dy by dx is 15x squared minus 60x minus 75 minus 60x minus 75 minus 60x, oh wait, 60x minus 75. So that's the first derivative we have there. Now d square y by d x squared equals 15 to 30 x minus 60. Okay, good. Now we're going to substitute the values of x in this. Now you remember, let me draw a little line to separate the work, right? So you remember that when we do this, if we substitute the value of x in the first derivative, in the second derivative, and we have a negative value, right? Then it means we have a maximum point. You can remember it by the fact that going from left to right, we have the gradient like this, then it falls. So the gradient is falling on a maximum point. So the second derivative tells us immediately what happened. What happened immediately after we pass the maximum point? It's falling, it's going negative. You can also consider that if you're at the top, you can't move any further up. Any movement would have to be down, so it's negative. So the fact that you get a negative value means you're at the top. If you have a positive, then you are at a minimum point when you're at the bottom. Once you move, the only movement that can take place is up. So you have positive. You can consider that as you move from left to right, the tangent, the gradient of the tangent is moving up, positive. At the maximum, moving down, negative, swinging down, negative. At the minimum point, it's swinging up, meaning you are positive, right? Alright, so here, let's rewrite this. D squared y by dx squared is 30x minus 60. So, d squared y by dx squared is 30x minus 60. Now, what happened at x equals negative 1? I have x equals negative 1. D squared y by dx squared will be 30 times negative 1 minus 60, which is negative 30 minus 60, which is negative 90. Negative 90 means that negative 140 is a maximum point. Negative 140 is a maximum point. That's the nature of the point, maximum. Now what happened at x equal, what the other value again? X equal 5. When x is 5, d squared y by dx squared is equal to 30 by 5. 30 times 5 minus 60 will give you 3, 5, 15, 150 minus 60. 150 minus 60 is what? 90. Positive 90. So 5 5175 is since it's positive, it must be a minimum point. Minimum point, since it's 90 is positive. So 175 is a minimum point.